Shalom, give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, QADASH, double honors to the elders, apostles, great millstone, teaching this scriptures and certainty, salutation to the hopeful, let us pray that recognize the servant of the earth. So, the title of this lesson will be a continuation of a white man's hell. So, like a white man's heaven is a black man's hell. Lyrics, spiritual breakdown, part 3, verse 2. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it with verse 2. I'm gonna read it in Genius as well because they also, got their own breakdown. It doesn't have any scriptures, but just a breakdown of what they think of their interpretation of what the lyrics are saying. Let me see if I can. Do it like this. It's like yeah. So this is verse 2. So this is Genius annotation of what they think verse 2 is speaking about. So verse 2 says, when the white man came to America, right? When the white man came to America. So verse 2, I'm gonna break it down first. So when the white man came to America, that's obvious speaking about Cristobal Colon, right? Through him trying to find a new route to to Spain, right? He they say that he stumbled upon America. Let's see if I can break it up. So I typed in why did Christopher Columbus found America? It reads the explorer Christopher Columbus or Christopher Colon made 4 trips across the Atlantic Ocean from Spain in 1492, 1493, and 1498 and 1502. He was determined to find a direct water route west from Europe to Asia, but he never did. Instead, he stumbled upon the America. So that's what they say, right? So we know that that white man came to America. Speaking about Cristobal Colon, he told the India, "I am your white brother," right? Because they were, he was a foreigner. He was, English. India never saw, you know, Native Americans. They never saw, you know, they never saw the color, of a white person, before, they took them as, being foreigners, being aliens, right? Because they were, this is Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. It reads, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, so the beast represented other nations, right? So the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, right? So the serpent represent who? The white man, right? The Edomites, right? You know, they have serpent traits, right? So he came to the Indias, to America, to Native Americas, to the different islands, right? Saying, I'm here to, work with you, right? I'm going to be your ally, So he came in a serpent, manner, right? He came in a subtle manner, right? which the Lord Yahweh power had made, and he said unto the woman, yeah, as the Most High say, ye should not eat of every tree of the garden. So, so the point I want to get out of Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 was that the serpent was more fertile than any beast, right? Because he came, you know, as he just wanted to use the Native Americans. He just wanted to use them, for their, for their, hunting skills. For he just wanted to conquer, America. He didn't want to, be friends with the Indians or Native Americans. We're gonna see that as I read more of this verse. He just wanted their resources, right? So he came in a serpent manner. He said, Redman. He said, Redman, I'll treat you the best, right? So I did. I have something for this as well, because this is the Native Americans. They said they're. What do he mean by that, right? Um, so I had what the 10 things, explorers or whatever for the Native American tribes. So the Indians helped the settlers by teaching them how to plant crops and survive on the land. But the Indians, so speaking about Native American, so-called Native American GAD, but the Indians did not understand that the settlers were going to keep the land, right? Because Christopher Columbus, they came as if they wanted to, be allies. They came in a serpent manner. They came as they wanted to be allies, not as they wanted to conquer the whole land. But the Indians did not understand that the settlers were going to keep the land. This idea was foreign to the Indians, right? Because they never seen, they never been through, they never seen, foreigners. They never seen, they don't know what they didn't know what colonization meant. To them, it was like trying to own the air or the cows, right? Um, um, so that was taught the pilgrims. They also taught how to navigate from place to place by water and over land, how to tend hives used for clothing, how to identify toxic plants and berries, and explain the medicinal and culinary use of indigenous herbs. Native Americans helped pilgrims by teaching the pilgrims how to plant corn, where to fish, and where to hunt beaver. Native Americans also served as guides around the area for the pilgrims, as well as an interpreter for colonial leaders and Native American chiefs of nearby tribes. Right. So going back to here, he said, "Red men I treat you the best." Right. So by what? By teaching him, like they're teaching him how to hunt, how to teaching him the way around and how to navigate the whole continent, right? The whole that particular part of the continent, America. Yet, this is why we call it, the white man. The serpent. You know, he's a snake. Yet and still he pushed the India further west. So even though the India helped, the even though the God helped them, and showed them, different helpful, tools and ways to survive, on their land, he still pushed, because he can't be satisfied. Scripture speaks about that he cannot be satisfied. No, he can't be satisfied. He can't be satisfied. I don't have this on my in this document, but I can't. It just came to my mind. Through the Holy Spirit. Habakkuk 2:5. I can start before verse. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. Who is this speaking about? This is speaking about the Edomites, right? They're not upright, you know. And look at that word, upright. Upright, which means to be right, to be lawful, be smooth, to go straight, to make right. Basically they have a wicked, wicked. They're very wicked. But the just should live by his faith. Right? So who's the just speaking about? The just is speaking about the elect, right? Or the let me see if I can read it here. Habakkuk 2:4. Look at the proud. They trust in themselves and their lives are crooked, but the righteous will live by their faithfulness to the Most High. Right? Fifth verse. Yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at his home. Right? So this is playing, this is, he, when he found America, he didn't think about, going back. He took, some slaves, Christopher Cologne, he took, he took, some of the Native Americans, he took some of, some of the tribes, around in the different islands, the West Indians, he took them into slaves, right, to be brought back to Spain. He even killed some of them. So, he's a proud individual. He's a proud man. He doesn't keep it at his own. He doesn't. He always have to. Speaking about the Edomites, they're very proud. They don't keep it. This is one of their characteristics, right? They always have to be in. They always have to be in someone else. On someone else's land that's not theirs. Who enlarges his desire as hell, right? And is as dealt, and cannot be satisfied. So he cannot be satisfied, right? So this is why, this is why I brought this up, because, even though the Native American are the kindness of their heart, because we are a just people, we are a, they're, the God, they are an Israelites, right? So, out of their righteous spirits, they were willing to teach, the white man Edomites how to, hunt, how to, how to navigate their way around America, right? But Edom being, a wicked, being unjust, being in a wicked spirit, he decided to, fight. He decided to attack the Gad, right? With his venomous, with his words, with his sword, with his blessing of the sword. This is how they were able to push the Indian further, was by the sword. His blessing is the sword. You know, you know, um, but gather unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all the people. Right. I'm reading the NLT as well. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. Right. So to speak on the Edomites, they open their mouths as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied. Right. In that grave, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many peoples. So that was Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Um, so yet, and he's still pushing India further west. So, you know, and that is going into the India Removal Act, right? There was something called an India Removal Act. India Removal Act. I'm going to look that up before I bring in some more precepts. Let's see. The India Removal Act. So the India Removal Act was signed into law by President Andrew Jackson on May 28, 1830, authorizing the president to grant ancestral lands west of the Mississippi in exchange for Indian lands within existing state borders. Right. A few tribes went peacefully, but many resisted the relocation policy. Right, because it was their land. Authorizing the president to grant ancestral lands, so west of the Mississippi, in exchange for Indian lands within existing state borders. So they were moving the that way you get the Indian Removal Act, right? They were moving the Indian further west, right? All right, and this damn devil, this is why we hate the damn Edomites to this very day. Genesis chapter 49, verse 19. Genesis chapter 49, verse 19. Gad. So the Gad was referring to the so-called Native Americans. A troop shall overcome him, right? So who was those troop referring to in the 1830s, right? That's talking about the Americans, right? The American, you know, I think it was called either Union back during the Andrew Jackson presidency. Um, pretty sure it was Unions, right? So those troops, those troops, forcefully removed. Here you go right here. There's something called a trails of tears, right? That trails and tears goes back into them being forcibly remove, the Native American men forcibly remove um, out of their land, right? So here it goes right here. So they were shipped, on boats. They were moved. You can hear like map right here. They were moved to the different territories in the U.S., right? Trails of Tears, right? Trails of Tears. All right, and it's just going back to the India remove that. Right, because it was like they were dying, and you see the troops right here, the ones in the blue on horses, right? I got a more image right here. They were kicking the Native Americans out of their homes, right? You know, there you go, they're here with their swords in their hands. Edomites blessing in their sword. Right. So a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last, right? So ultimately, God, you know, there's article about America wanting to return the Native Americans back their land. There's a something called you know a land back movement or a land back movement act or whatever. But we know no, they're not gonna be no God. No, they're no, they don't get their glory. They don't get their glory. They don't get their 100% glory back, their land back. In the kingdom of heaven. When the kingdom of heaven be established on earth, right? So America, trying to get because the reason they're doing that, America trying to do that, right? Because they know that their whole world, their whole kingdom is going down, right? Is falling, right? They know the return of our Lord is near, right? So they're trying to just trying to use some damage control, right? Some damage control. So I'm gonna get Sirach chapter 10. Sirach chapter 10, verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So injuries. When I looked at the word injuries, it goes back to the word injustice, right? The word injustice, which means a lack of fairness or justice, and a just act or occurrence, right? The Edomites they are in up, they are in their spirit. It goes back to their spirit being upright, or their spirit not being upright. You know, because they are in a unjust people. They're not fair. They commit unjust acts. Um, disservice, a harmful action. The Indian removal act. That is a unjust act. There is a unjust act. That is a unjust act. You know that is a unjust act. Grievance. You know an official statement of a complaint over something believed to be wrong or unfair. The Indian Removal Act, that was wrong and unfair. For the Edomites to come and kick Gad off their land, right? Even though their real land is in Israel, but that's going into that as well. But the whole point is that um, they are very, they commit these acts. They commit these you know things, right? Because it's in the power of their hand. The world is in the power because it's in the power of their hand. The YAHAWASHI gave them the power to do it, right? But we know that it's gonna come a time when the kingdom, and the reason the kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? Because the kingdom gonna be, you know, when the world just mean, it's going back into a um no going back to like a kingdom, or just going back to where it says that end of the world is just go end of the world. When people say end of the world, just going back to end of this generation, right? End of this kingdom, end of the Edomites ruling, right? And Jacob ruling, right? Israel ruling, right? So in Isaiah 33:1, because we know that this Yahweh Shah, he's gonna come and take this wicked, just this wicked person, wicked man, wicked nobody. He's nothing, right? Really, because he's gonna be called least in the kingdom of heaven. So he's nothing. You know, he got this little power, on this side, but he's not gonna be nothing, right? Because the same thing he did to our people, we're gonna do to his people. We're gonna put them in slavery, and they're gonna go through hell and pain and suffering, just like our people did, our ancestors and our forefather did, right? And us, you know. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee, right? When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee, right? So Isaiah chapter 33, verse 1 in the NLT. What sorrow awaits you, Assyrians, who have destroyed others, but have never been destroyed yourself, right? So the Edomites, they never really, America really never felt, how it's like to be on the defensive of war, right? You know, um, so ultimately that also going back to them being them being going to other people's lands, and just putting their soldiers and putting, for example, the Indian Removal Act, you know, they basically just killed, they murdered each other. They call each other tears for a reason, because what? It was a very hard time for the Indians, not for the Americans. It was a very hard time for the Native Americans, right? Because they suffer. They was removed from their homes, removed from their kids, moved from their, you know, they had to, suffer, during that time, and it wasn't a bad time for America. It wasn't a bad time, and this also going back to Israel, right? This whole nation of Israel, the Edomites have, destroyed our people. You betray others, but you have never been betrayed. And that's also going back to other nations, right? They deal treacherously with these other nations, right? They, this is why all the other nations pin the American dollars, and they're going to their own currencies, right? And this, and for the point of this lesson, this also can go back to, um, he told the Indian, "I'm your white brother." He said, "Red man, I'll treat you the best." So the Native American was willing to teach the Edomites how to, basically live and survive uh, on their land. Yet, and still, he pushed the Indian further away. So he betrayed the Indians, right? He betrayed their trust. When you are done destroying, you will be destroyed. When you are done betraying, you will be betrayed. Right? The Indian, they will ultimately be betrayed. So like the Edomites, they will ultimately, they gonna get their, they're gonna drink up the whole cup. They're gonna drink up the whole cup of slavery. The whole cup of judgment, right? And they're gonna be, after they serve their slavery. They're gonna be destroyed. Right. Ultimately, he's been betrayed as well. He's been betrayed now, right? The, like I mentioned, the other nations, they're forming their own alliance. Brits, you got something called Brits. There's African countries and different nations, going to Brits. Okay, so with his white woman and fire water. So who is this white woman referring to? Manifest Destiny. I'm gonna look that up. Manifest Destiny. I'm going to the images. So this is they paint this as a white woman, right? And then you have the Treasure Tears, right? So this, and they in genius, there was I had and I saw their annotation that was able to understand what that verse was, what that part of that labor was speaking about. But it's just speaking about manifest destiny, right? Because manifest destiny is like almost like a feminine name. So manifest, I have the definition here. Manifest destiny, a phrase coined in 1845, is the ideal that the United States is destined by God, as advocates believe, to expand its dominion and spread democracy and capitalism across the entire North America continent. The philosophy drove 19th century U.S. territorial expansion. It was used to justify the forced removal of Native Americans and other groups from their homes. So this is the whole point right here. You know, so their so-called manifest destiny or whatever, their idea that they were destined to remove the Native American from the land. So was white woman and fire water, with his white woman and fire water, that's going back to his sword, his through his blessing, right? He was able to remove the you know he was able to remove the guy. He was able to push them, you know, to the west, right? Okay. Tricks and lies, he stole America. Tricks and lies, he stole America, right? This is why I'm going. This is why through what treacherously, going back to Isaiah chapter 33 verse 1, right? He betrayed others. He stole from others, right? He lied, he raped, he killed, he murdered the Native Americans, right? Called that why he called treasure. This is why we go back. This is why he is referred to as a serpent, right? A serpent is a trickery and a sly and a subtle beast. It's a subtle animal, right? It sneak upon you. You can. It's very hard for you to detect a snake. It's very hard to. It's very hard for you to detect a snake. There are there first they don't they you only can hear you don't they don't have any legs, they don't have any arms, and they're just there, when you on the you can on the realize that they're there when when they make themselves known, right? And this damn devil making himself known right now. And it's he made himself known, right? Church and lives, the American, the Native American realized that when they saw that, they experienced that, they realized that this damn devil, this damn Edomite, this damn his white brother, this damn white person didn't come to to save us or to help us or to be allies. So they came to steal our land, right? So church and lives, he stole America. Throughout chapter 10, 12, verse 10. Throughout chapter 12, verse 10. Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemies, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. This is why we're never to trust, even my our enemies who can't trust them, right? Because for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, right? And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that he is his that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Because we're gonna realize that this damn devil is who he really is, a damn devil, a damn serpent. When we keep his eye, when we be aware of what he's doing. America, they wasn't, they didn't, they wasn't, they didn't know, they didn't think, that when they came, to when they first came to speak with them, they didn't think they would come to take over their land because they wasn't aware of the damn they wasn't like I read they were foreign to to those types of people, right? You know, 12 verse set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, right? So what? Right. So what? This is going back to what the Edomite, the Edomite when they removed the Indians, right? They were able to overthrow the Gads, they overthrew them, right? They and now they calling these freaking land that they stole by killing, raping, the Gads by doing all that by they're calling after their names. They're saying that this is why you have something called a Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving, right? Fuck, I'm gonna look this up. But this is why we call because they no fuck it. It's a day of mourning. I have it here. Say day of mourning. For the Native Americans, but it's a day of feasting for the Americans. So it's a day of mourning for the Native Americans. It's a day of feasting for the Americans, right? I have it here. I'm gonna pull it up in this tab. So Thanksgiving, the annual genocide whitewash, right? I'm gonna, so given that mythologized gastronomic encounter of 1621 between pilgrims and Native Americans that now serve as a cornerstone of the fairy tale version of history. Let me see if I can read some more. By 1637, Jensen Rice, Massachusetts Bay Colony Governor John Winthrop was proclaiming a Thanksgiving for the successful massacre of hundreds of Pequot Indian men, women, and children, right? A blood pattern that would repeat itself across the continent until between 95 and 99% of American Indians have been exterminated, right? So ain't that a so just imagine. So this is why I set him not by thee, lest when he has overthrown thee, he stand up in that place. What going back to he overthrow the. I just read they by he fuck a mother he they I just read Bay Colony Governor John Winthrop was proclaiming a Thanksgiving for the success. So they were standing, living on Native American property while he was writing this statement, proclaiming a Thanksgiving for the successful massacre of 100. It's also going back to um, how they stole some of the land that the so-called Negroes had as well, but for the PowerPoint this lesson, that's I'm using this scripture because it goes in line of you know through tricks and lies he stole America because what America was originally colonized by the so-called GAD, right? But now he's saying that America is his, right? And he's not giving no credit to GAD. Some people that land of rule at, but that's far too late now. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek it to take thy seat, and thou as thy last remember my words and be pricked therewith, right? So, being going by what? Being bitten by the damn serpent, right? You know, because he's trying to sit and he's trying to the rulers, right? He's trying to in which he is, in this, for this time at least. Um, the original owner of this nation is cooped up on a reservation, right? Reservation, which going back to the 1851 India Appropriations Act, right? And I'm gonna look that up. That's important to look these things up, right? Because it's going in line, with the history, right? With the precepts, it goes in line with the especially these goes along with these verses, these lyrics in that verse. So the 1851 India Appropriations Act, the U.S. Congress passes the India Appropriations Act, creating the reservation system. The government forces native people to move to and live on reservations where it can be better subdued, where it can better subdue them, right? So this devil, he said, "I'm not even going to give you a portion of of the land that you originally had. I'm going to put you on reservations." So that ain't that something? And look at these damn reservations. And we also going back to what the genus, right, for the non-chapter. You know, Gad, a troop should overcome you, overcome thee, right? So we already know what this is going back to, but just seeing it play out, it's horrific, right? Um, so the solution won any appropriation at 1851 due to America gaining lots of new territory. There was a big demand from whites to settle on India land. 124,000 Indians live in Mexico. The new president, Millard Fillmore, was largely against Indians and called them an annoyance. Right? So I guess this was, you know, the India Appropriation Act allowed government money to pay for moving Plains Indians onto reservations. Reservations were areas of land reserved for American Indians. They were controlled and managed by the U.S. government. Right. So it's not like if Gad have had any parts of even owning, that they couldn't do what they wanted to. They couldn't, probably couldn't, go out and hunt and use. They probably had to use, they probably, because it was owned and managed, right? They were cooped up in reservations. They was owned and managed by the U.S. government, right? A troop should overcome thee, right? A the serpent, bit, the Native Americans, right? And now, they're, you know, and now they're over the Native Americans. So I'm going now, Nahum chapter 1, verse 3. Nahum chapter 1, verse 3. Let's see. I have Nahum chapter 1, verse 3, but let me see. Already, the Lord Yahawah is slow to anger and great power and will not all equip the wicked, right? So ultimately, Yahweh, he's not gonna, when he returns, he's going to deliver, the judgment. He's gonna destroy, you know, there won't be no more saving. This damn devil, he gonna get every little bit of things he did to the Indians, to the Negroes, to to the Haitians, to all that, all that, all that his wrath that he poured down on our ancestors. He's gonna get, he gonna have to, he's gonna have to, suffer for that. He's gonna have to, stand trial for that, right? Let me see, Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed, and who that's going back to the Israelites, particularly for this lesson, Gad, right? Rob and spoil. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. What are they going back to? For the point of this lesson, the reservations, right? Right? The Reservation Act, 1851. They are for prey, and none delivered, for a spoil, and none says restored, right? So these damn devil ain't trying to help us, They're not trying to help the Native Americans. I'm gonna get into cheat. But his own people have been robbed and plundered, enslaved, imprisoned, right? Imprisoned and trapped. They are fair game for anyone and have no one to protect them, no one to take them back home. Our original home was the home in the Israel, right? No, we don't have anyone to protect us. No one want us. No one want to protect these so-called the Israelites, right? No one want to deal with the Israelites. No one want to. Everyone. This is why they say they are fair game to anyone. Enslaved, imprisoned, and trapped. We are trapped. We don't have. We are. No, we don't. The only thing we have, which is going back to the elect. The only thing we have, that make us feel like we're not, mental or mental, in a mental captivity or whatever. They make us feel like we're free. Is this truth? They make us feel like we're not trapped. Is this truth? In the names of our Lord, right? In the Heavenly Father, enslaved, imprisoned, and trapped, right? So my friend, it's easy to tell. Um, so my friend, it's easy to tell white man's heaven is a black man hell. Right? That's what you know. That's breakdown of what it is. So we're gonna go to genius. Even though they're not. I'm just I'm not gonna probably. If you made it this far, if you made it this far into the lesson, you can close out or whatever. Um, but I'm just gonna read this, because it's just like breakdown of what they think the precepts are speaking about. whatever. But the lesson, already done with. So it reads, when the white man, let's see, I can bring it up. Uh, verse 2. So when the white man came to America, he told the India, I am your white brother. He said, red man, I'll treat you the best. Yet and still he pushed the India further west, right? So they said when pilgrims came to America, most of them died and were starving. Okay. The Native Americans helped them out and taught them how to grow crops. That's true. Eventually, the white man lied to them and kept making them leave their homes and did that's why. No, that's going back to the Indian Removal Act. With this white woman, let me see, with this white woman and fire water, tricks and lies, he stole America. So the white woman undoubtedly used tricks and lies. So like the white man undoubtedly used tricks and lies, right? That's true. And fire water to steal the continental United States, and it's still up to the same tricks. That's true. This damn devil is still, going to these other countries trying to get their, steal their material, their land, and everything else. How he used a white woman to do so. So that's like a metaphor to the manifest destiny. He was said that he got a interpretation or whatever, a vision or thing that he should explore west, or so that's that white woman, because we have it here that they paint it as they paint this manifest destiny girl as a white woman, right? Are they right here? Um, so that's why I think it's going back to manifest destiny. Um, right. So okay. So the original owner of this nation is cooped up on reservation. Native Americans were the first to have American now since the white men kicked them out of their home. Plenty of times they lived in reservations instead of big colonies. That's true. Going back to the 1851 Indian Appropriation Act. So my friend is to tell a white man seven, a white is a black man hell, right? So that's going to be the end of this lesson. Hope y'all come all qual was edified. I'm going to give all honor, glory, praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHWASHI, QADASH. The next time we'll say Shalom.